You've found Wickett on Wisconsin, your one-stop podcast for all things Packers, Brewers, Bucks, and the rest of your favorite teams from all over the state of Wisconsin. We're powered by Wisconsin Sports Heroics, online at wisportsheroics.com and the Wisconsin Podcast Association. And now, here's your host, Mike Wickett.
Welcome in. I put this out on Wednesdays every week, usually. Last week we didn't because the Packers played on Thursday, and I generally wait until Wednesday to record it. And today is one of those prime examples why I wait until Wednesdays to record this, because you just never know what's going to happen. A couple weeks ago, the Stephon Gilmore news happened. Recorded the podcast shortly after he was traded to Carolina. Had I recorded yesterday, I would have gladly done the podcast over again after we found out several hours ago that Aaron Rodgers will miss at least one football game because Aaron Rodgers lied. Aaron Rodgers lied about his vaccination status, and therefore, because he has tested positive for COVID-19, he will be missing the Kansas City Chiefs game and potentially the Seattle Seahawks game. And if you're a Packers fan, you should be livid with your quarterback. From a football perspective, I'll get to that because this means Jordan Love gets an opportunity. What does this mean about the NFC? What does this mean about the NFC North? What does this mean about the team right now that is sitting in the number one seed? I'll get to all that coming up. But I just listened to Matt LaFleur right before I recorded this. I've read the statements, I've all these things. There is still a lot up in the air. But the amount of disgust that I've felt when I read on Twitter, like everybody else, Tom Pelissero and Ian Rappaport and everybody else, when I found out that Aaron Rodgers, the Green Bay Packers quarterback, was unvaccinated and tested positive for COVID-19, I was livid, I was despondent, I was upset, and I cannot believe that this is where we are at right now with the Green Bay Packers, with this quarterback, with this team, after every damn thing that has happened throughout the last 6 months. The latest comes from Aaron Rodgers being unvaccinated and testing positive for COVID-19. And it brings up a million questions. The biggest question, of course, why didn't Aaron get vaccinated? He was asked in August, are you vaccinated? I think Ryan Wood was the one that asked him that question, and his answer was, I'm immunized. There is a difference between immunized and vaccinated. And Aaron Rodgers, make sure I get the verbiage correctly, petitioned the NFL to have an alternative treatment that he underwent before he returned to the Packers that would allow him to be considered the same as someone who received one of the approved vaccinations. This according to Rob Domofsky over at ESPN.com. After a lengthy back and forth, the league ruled that Rodgers would not get the same consideration and would be considered unvaccinated. So he doesn't get vaccinated, and he tries to hide it. He lies his way through this. And anybody who has ever been in a relationship with a woman, if you don't tell her something, you know that's a lie. Well, I just didn't tell all the truth. That is a lie. Aaron Rodgers has been trying to pull a ruse on everybody, hoping he would slip through the cracks and hoping that no one would find out that he is unvaccinated, hoping that he would not catch COVID-19, which is an automatic 10-day suspension for anyone who is unvaccinated. I don't know what his alternative treatments were. Was it bathing in eucalyptus leaves? Someone said it was sunning. Was it going to Hawaii? Some voodoo ritual? Was it 3 fingers of tequila like he drank when they drafted Jordan Love? I don't know what the alternative medicine is that Aaron Rodgers thought that would get him, on the same level as a vaccinated player. But he's about to potentially cost the Green Bay Packers 2 football games and home field advantage in the playoffs. It's unbelievable. The Alan Lazard, that's one thing. Alan Lazard is a bit part on this team. Devontae Adams got on the COVID list. He's vaccinated. Not enough time, not enough negative tests. Fine. But this is your captain. This is your MVP. This is your most valuable player. This is your franchise. This is your quarterback. The season hinges on Aaron Rodgers being under center. And I don't know if this is going to mean that Rodgers is going to get vaccinated because, according to everyone, and I just listened to Matt LaFleur, when they're inside 1265, when they're inside the team facilities, Rodgers was following protocol. The protocol for wearing a mask for an unvaccinated player. Again, you don't need to like the rules, but they are the rules. That a player inside a team facility must have a mask on at all times unless they're eating. How many press conferences did you see Aaron Rodgers unmasked? How many times on the sideline when he's speaking to people, hanging out with his teammates, was he unmasked? Rodgers didn't follow the rules. Rodgers didn't get vaccinated. He claimed he was immunized. He tried to pull a fast one on everyone, and he got busted, and it is incredibly disappointing to Packers fans everywhere, to the Packers organization. You know, it's one thing if you're unvaccinated and that is your choice, and you let the world knows you're unvaccinated. Like Alan Lazard, everyone in that locker room knew he was unvaccinated. Did everyone in that locker room know that Aaron Rodgers was unvaccinated? And what did they think of that? What do the vaccinated players think of that? And then what has Aaron Rodgers been doing? You know what he did a couple of days ago? Halloween party. He was dressed as John Wick. Remember how cute that was? He had the little dog. Remember how cute it was for Aaron Rodgers to have the dog and be John Wick and walk around with the fake gun and the glass of whiskey and whatever? How many people got COVID at the party that he was at? Jordan Love was at that party. What's Jordan Love's status? According to Matt LaFleur, he's good to go. We don't know what that means. We have absolutely no idea what that means. This is just incredibly disappointing for Aaron Rodgers, the leader of this team, to not get the vaccine. So therefore, he can't play in the biggest road game that they're going to have the rest of the way out, maybe. Primetime matchup. This is the Nance and is this the Nance game or the Buck game? I don't even know what network it's on. The whole world's going to be watching. And they're going to bat with Jordan Love. It's just, it's ridiculous. And the NFL is going to investigate this. This is where it gets even bigger. The NFL is going to investigate this, and there will be fines handed down, whether it's to Rodgers or the organization. To put your... How many different instances did Aaron Rodgers break the rules? We're in week 8, plus training camp. How many times, week 9, how many different times did Aaron Rodgers walk around that facility with no mask on? How many times will he be looked at on camera, not wearing a mask on the sideline, talking to reporters, talking to teammates, talking to coaches, talking to whoever without a mask on? I don't care if you don't like the rules. Those are the rules. Aaron knew the rules. The Packers knew the rules. And if he broke these multiple times, we're talking thousands and thousands of dollars. Now, does that matter to a guy who makes $35 million a year? No, probably not. Or the organization. And I'm not sure whose pockets it come out of. It's supposed to come from. I have no idea. But the other thing, too, now, what a gigantic distraction for this team. What do you think every player is going to be asked about, win or lose, coming up on Sunday when they do post-game press conferences and any other media availability? And I don't know who's going to meet with the media between now and Sunday afternoon. What do you think they're going to be asked about? What do you think they're going to be talking about? What do you think sports media is going to be talking about? And if you don't think athletes are keeping an eye on sports media, whether it's radio, TV, internet, blogs, this podcast, whatever, you're nuts. Now they're distracted. Do guys stop trusting Aaron Rodgers? It is a horrible image and a bad portrayal of yourself if you are the leader of the organization to not get vaccinated. We all made fun of Kirk Cousins, right? Because we were talking about putting plexiglass over his locker as a joke. We all made fun of him for that because Kirk's very anti-vax. And that's Kirk's choice. Just like you may be anti-vax or pro-vax, whatever. But now you have put the team in jeopardy. Thank God this happened the first week in November. Can you imagine if Aaron Rodgers gets COVID again in January? Or at the end of December, when maybe, perhaps, potentially, the division is on the line? Home field advantage is on the line? Is Rodgers going to get vaccinated now? Is he going to go get the first shot and then wait and get the second? For the record, I got my booster yesterday, my third one. It's been kicking my ass for the last 24 hours. But I'm not putting my family at risk. Aaron Rodgers put the season at risk, the locker room at risk. Aaron Rodgers put his team at risk, and potentially a trip to the Super Bowl at risk. Just can't believe it, man. I'm just, big picture, what does this mean? Well, we're about to find out how well Jordan Love can play. Matt LaFleur, the head coach, wasn't going to get into anything. First question, and props to whoever asked it, first question out of the media's mouth today, is Rodgers vaccinated? And Matt LaFleur wouldn't answer. He doesn't have to. His answer was, he's on the COVID list, that's all I can tell you. And that's fine. He found out about 8:30 this morning before the rest of us did on Twitter, about 9:15 or 9:30 this morning or whatever it was when Pellisario dropped the bomb on everybody. And Rodgers knew. They get daily tests, so did Rodgers get his test on the way in this morning? I'm sure the unvaccinated players get tested every single day, probably multiple times a day. I don't know. But if you're unvaccinated, you get tested every day. So Rodgers got tested this morning. They go into meetings at 8:30. They probably already know that this information is going to get out. And now they play the Chiefs with Jordan Love. The good news, I guess if there is some good news, is this division is pretty bad outside of Green Bay. I mean, what did the Vikings do last week? That pathetic performance against Cooper Rush and the Dallas Cowboys. Or look at the Bears. Look at the Lions. They're done. Season's over. So if Jordan Love can split these next two, all right, fine. That's, you split two. If Rodgers can't go, 13 days, 2 weeks, whatever, the earliest he can come back is the Saturday before the Seattle game, which is the one after this weekend's Kansas City game. So he would go 2 weeks without practicing because he has to quarantine for 10 days or whatever. So now is that game in jeopardy? If Rodgers can come back on Saturday, you probably play him against Seattle, even though he hasn't practiced. Meanwhile, Love will get all the reps with the ones and the twos, but you still start Aaron Rodgers, right? You probably have to, unless he doesn't get enough negative tests, doesn't have symptoms. All those things factor in. This is just, it's a mid-season nightmare. Thank God it didn't happen at the end of the season. Thank God this happened the first week of November and not the last week of December. It's a lack of leadership. It's a lack of putting the team first is what this is. Maybe I wouldn't be so upset if I wasn't so surprised. What if we knew Rodgers was unvaccinated, like we knew Kirk Cousins was unvaccinated? I didn't know Allen Lazard's vaccination status going into the game against Arizona. I had no idea. But maybe if we had known and we were all sitting on edge, waiting for that positive COVID-19 test to pop up, perhaps this wouldn't be so jarring. But I'm just disgusted by the fact that back in August during training camp, Ryan Wood asked, "Are you vaccinated?" He said, "I'm immunized," because he was using some form of alternate medication or whatever it was to try to keep himself immunized, which is not vaccinated by league standards. Now the NFL's go to investigate. And I don't know what the strongest penalties are, but if they find out the Packers knew Rodgers is walking around the Packers facility without a mask, does that result in suspensions? Does Rodgers get suspended for repeated violations of the COVID-19 protocol sent down by the NFL? We have to find out. By the time you listen to this, we might know more. And I'll have to do another follow-up podcast, because if Rodgers is then suspended for multiple games or a game, and he has to miss 3, and all of a sudden, that NFC championship game, no shot that thing's played in Green Bay. They're going to be going down to Tampa or L.A. if they can get there. As of right now, as I'm recording this, they don't have a backup quarterback. I believe Randall Cobb will be getting the emergency snaps right now should anything happen to Jordan Love. Obviously, by the time you hear this and they kick off down at Arrowhead, there will be somebody who knows the offense or somebody they bring in to cram the offense. Gutekunst has to find someone to back up Jordan Love. And they can beat Kansas City without, I can't believe I'm saying this, but they can beat Kansas City with Jordan Love. Let's get to the football part of this, because I'm getting real bent out of shape talking about Aaron Rodgers, the liar. Aaron Rodgers, the leader. I'm getting real bent out of shape about that. From a football standpoint, they can beat the Kansas City Chiefs. I never thought I would say that. The formula is out how to beat Mahomes so far until he figures out how to do it. You play Amos and Savage deep. You keep everything in front of you. That offensive line, the rebuilt offensive line, certainly not as good as Kansas City was expecting it to be. You get pressure. You get pressure, especially on the interior of that line, and you flush Mahomes out. No big plays. You know, it's tough to keep up with Tyreek Hill, but if you can figure out a way to keep him inside where the safeties are, and you bracket coverage or whatever on him, you'll be able to slow this team down. You know, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is not healthy. He's not going to play in this one. I don't even know the backup's name that scored a touchdown that I just picked up on my fantasy football team, whatever that dude's name is. See if I can find that. But you can get to Mahomes. You could beat this Kansas City Chiefs team. I don't think we're going to see 42 points scored out of Green Bay against the worst defense in the National Football League or a bottom 5 defense in the National Football League. But Green Bay with Jordan Love at quarterback, I was about to say Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay with Jordan Love at quarterback can beat this Kansas City team. The defense is terrible. They just made the move to bring in Melvin Ingram. Who knows how quickly he'll get brought up to speed. Ever since they moved Chris Jones to the outside on that defensive line, that's been a disaster. He's one of the top 3 or 4 best interior linemen in the National Football League. That was a mistake. Dan Sorensen is probably the worst starting safety in the National Football League. So you can take advantage with Devontae, assuming he's back. If MVS can play, Lazard should be back. Cobb, you can take advantage of that secondary. You can take advantage of that front 4 and that front 7 that Kansas City's going to have. So this is a winnable football game. It's not as winnable as it was. Sorry, it's not as winnable as it was 5 hours ago. But you can win this football game if you feature Jones and Dillon and you beat up the middle and you take your shots against that bad secondary. You have to always keep an eye on where the Honey Badger Tyrann Mathieu is. He is still a stud playing at a very high level. But this Chiefs team is very beatable. We're watching that. It wasn't like they dominated the Giants on Monday Night Football a couple of days ago. This is a winnable football game for Green Bay. This is a great opportunity for us all to actually see Jordan Love play meaningful minutes in a football game. I will say that Jordan Love's career does not depend on his performance on Sunday. Jordan Love's career will depend on his first full camp, should Rodgers be gone next year, the year after, or if Jordan Love gets his first full camp as the number 1, wherever that may be. Who knows? But God, this was not the podcast I thought I was going to be doing. This was not it. But it is what it is, right? That's what they always say. If anything does change, we're going to have to update the podcast. I know that much. We're going to have to update it. All right. Don't forget, wisportsheroics.com. I'm sure there are articles all over wisportsheroics.com for you to check out on the Packers, as well as the Bucks and Brewers, Badgers too. But Aaron Rodgers and his positive COVID-19 test, the unvaccinated leader of the football team, testing positive for COVID-19, that's going to dominate. And by the way, I don't think this is the end of the positive cases. I believe there will be more. There were a lot of people at that Halloween party. A lot of people at that Halloween party. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you get yours. Please check it out. Again, wisportsheroics.com. We'll do it again next week. Who knows? We may be doing another one tomorrow. I got no idea, but thank you for checking this one out. This has been Wickett on Wisconsin with me, Mike Wickett. Just can't believe it. Until next time, go Pack, go Bucks, and go Brewers.